Let's get to Liz Peek. Oh, Liz, just your name on my call manifest puts me in a good mood.
Well, I'm glad to do that for you, John. Good morning.
Good
Not
morning.
not not such a very good morning in my view, but there's a lot of things going wacky in our country and very seriously wrong, as you and I discussed the other day. And I got to tell you, I don't know how we get out of this.
Okay, well, elaborate.
Well, look, I think it's obviously the case that almost every institution in our country, the media, the universities, the science organizations, big tech, big corporations, everybody is arrayed against not only President Trump, but against conservatives. And, it was not long ago that we won a major election. 2016, people across the country realized that our country was going in the wrong direction. Now we have elected Joe Biden, who on every front, economic, militarily, geopolitically, diplomatically, has vowed for reverse direction. And you can see it in the optimism from the small business organization that we should all follow, NFIB, thousands of small business owners across the country. That confidence index, which soared on the eve and the day after President Trump was elected in 2016, is now plummeting. These guys know, these owners of small businesses know that Joe Biden's going to come in and basically we're looking at a reinstatement of all the red tape, all the regulations that Obama employed that drove down job creation, drove down our growth, which did reverse under President Trump. What's astonishing to me is they don't ever learn anything. Mm-hmm. It's the same playbook except 2.0. Biden is vowing to be more left wing with his economic policies than Obama was. This is not going to end well, John. And the fact that there isn't any credible voice in the middle ground of our political theater or on the right saying this loudly enough, I don't get it.
The point that you bring up, we're with Liz Peek, you can follow her at Liz Peek. She writes for The Hill and Fox News. The point that you bring up is that the recent poll out of small businesses, the confidence has gone from the highest ever to absolutely in the tank. And a lot of small business owners, they're afraid and they're depressed, not only because of they know there's regulations coming, they know there's IRS targeting coming, they know it's all coming back. They also believe that the Democratic Party is out to destroy them because they don't give them any money. They're 90% Republican. The vast majority of small businesses voted for Trump. And so they want to destroy them. And they're perfectly fine with Walmart, Amazon, and the big tech company, the big companies that are going to give them money. And if they can just destroy Main Street, they get rid of them. That's really what's driving the fear.
Well, and it is interesting. I mean, in 2016, I made a point of talking to everybody I could run into who owned florist shops or beauty salons or whatever. Who are you going to vote for? Not in an aggressive way, but just I was curious. And all of them were going to vote for Trump. And why? It wasn't taxes, though that was sort of the prevailing theme of the day. It really was about regulation. And, that's when Obama was elected. We all remember the first thing he did was ladle Obamacare onto a really struggling economy. And the upshot of that, several thousand pages of new rules and regulations, mainly pertaining to healthcare, was that everyone stopped hiring. Well, guess what? We're back in this exact same position. Now, instead of healthcare regulations, so they're going to tinker with that, it's going to be environmental. Everything's going to have to go through this sieve of environmental greening of America. And I can't tell you how profound this is. It's going to be money spent on unproductive ventures from soup to nuts. We're going to have all kinds. And by the way, one of these large things just went bankrupt in the last month, got very little attention because, gosh, this is going to be the new wave of job creation and technological innovation. It's all a lie, John. But it is amazing to me that the cultists, particularly around the environmental movement, really don't care. I was reading yesterday that there is an effort to stop the creation of a significant terminal being built, which allows the export of LNG. Why is that a bad thing? Because, of course, they hate hydrocarbons and any fossil fuels. but the real advantage of building these terminals and upping our exports of LNG is it takes money away from Russia. It takes clout away from Russia. Russia, just a few years ago, cut Ukraine off in the middle of winter from gas deliveries because they didn't like their politics. We are ceding the fossil fuel or the energy geopolitical weapon to Russia if we don't continue on producing more and more energy every year and driving our fossil fuel energy industry. That's what Biden wants to do. He wants to cut it back. The stupidity is what angers me. They never learn. And, you know, I'm in a very frustrated mood this morning because, of course, adding to all of this, we have big tech suppressing what we can and cannot say. I'm sure you've lost followers. I've lost thousands. It's very discouraging.
What happens? What's the plan?
I don't know. I mean, I think the Republican Party, there was a poll out from Axios this morning. You probably saw it. Most Republicans still support Trump. They still want him to be the candidate in 2024. I don't know what the Senate is going to do, but I think it's a long shot that Trump will run again, just because if I were he, I'd say thanks anyway. They're going to try and bankrupt him. They are in the process of humiliating him in every possible way,
right,
and humiliating his followers. I think at the end of the day, you have to look at this period, this last 4 years, and acknowledge that the hatred for Donald Trump is basically because Trump embarrassed the establishment, left and right. He asked questions that you're not supposed to ask about doing business in China, about allowing China to infiltrate our universities and our scientific community. Those were very, and by the way, our media companies, those were very uncomfortable questions for the establishment, and now they want him gone. They want him out of the way. I mean, to me, it's all terribly transparent and terribly obvious. But the upshot now is a very discouraging squashing, with the help of big tech, of all the voices that raised because Trump asked those questions, all the concerns and policies that were generated by that. I hope going forward, first of all, I hope that our legislators, as spineless as they are going to start really demanding more investigation and pushback against big tech. I think right now that's probably the most worrisome thing going on in our country, that Twitter can demand the silencing, which they have, of President Trump. President Trump has no way now to access the public other than through the traditional media mostly. And as we all know, that's not particularly effective. I think we're going to have to really, really, all of us, when you're Sheila, your earlier caller, talked about the power of the purse. It's very hard to enact that against big tech because you don't pay for Google, you don't pay for Twitter, right? So I don't know how, other than not using those organizations, and it's very hard for people like you and me not to be on Twitter. It's very hard to figure out really how to kind of use our clout, and there is clout in a majority of the country, to push back here.
There's 50 million Trump voters, hardcore, and that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of power, and we control the Republican Party. And so it starts in Michigan, where now we have a challenger to mayor that voted for impeachment. We got to get a challenger to Liz Cheney, and it's got to go right down the line, all the way down to general assemblies. And so, look, I get where you're coming from, Liz. I understand it. I mean, we're in for a dark period here, but if we stick together. And I got to tell you this, I'm going to tell you what I've done. I've had people in our movement that I have fought with, right, that I haven't been very nice to, that were maybe for Cruz and, whatever, right? I've had several of them. One guy, Bob Good, who's a congressman here, I backed his opponent, Denver Riggleman. Then there was another person in Hampton Roads that drove me bananas, but I have called them all up and made up with them because I'm like, look, whatever petty differences that you and I had, it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter. The picture's too big. We need to stick together. And so I reached out, and there was a person yesterday. I called her. Her name is Waverly Woods. She's in Virginia Beach. She's on the right. She has driven me bat crap crazy. She sold me out at the convention in Cleveland with, all that stuff. All right? No problem. I called her up. I apologized. I said, I love you. We have to stick together because 80% of this stuff we agree on. We have to stick together. And I'm leading by example. Liz Peek, thank you. Follow her at Liz Peek. And follow her on Twitter as long as you're not banned, like everybody else.
Right.
And soon, Liz, they'll silence you. That's why you have to come on a show because this is Radio Free America.
Thanks, John.
Liz, thank you.